Hi, everyone. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome. If you're new, if you're returning, welcome back. Really glad to have you. Thank you for all the comments on the last video. I love that we uh, have a good community here who talk to each other and are respectful and kind. I really appreciate that. If you've not liked, shared, or subscribed, I'd love it if you do that. And so, for those of you who are new, I've got new people all the time who will ask me about my voice. This is just, what can I tell you? It's just how it is. It is what it is. I am not sick. It is not worse than it was before. It's the same. Some people really like it. Some people hate it. It is what it is. But thank you for your concern. Also, I have a viewer in France who apprised me of the fact that if you are watching this from overseas and the language of the country is not English, that AI was dubbing the videos with other voices than my own. And as I said, strange as it seems, there are people who really like my voice. And so and this viewer in France said not only were they dubbing the voice, but they were dubbing it with a man's voice. Well, that's just weird. So I went into my computer, and I am not the most computer literate person on the face of the earth, but I did figure out how to disable that dubbing function. So if you watch my videos henceforth, the voice that you should be hearing should be mine, just saying. So thank you very much to that viewer for letting me know how frustrating that was, and letting me know that there was a way to take charge of that and fix it. So I did. There's really only a couple of questions that I wanted to look at on this Friday. Uh, and so let's get into it. The first is that you may have seen that Judge Xinis, Xinis, has ordered Trump's administration to bring Abrego Garcia back from the El Salvador prison that he was spirited away to on, I think it was March 15th. Now, other judges have suggested that they needed to do this too, but this is an order. They have until tomorrow, no, that's not, till Sunday night to return him. Now, when reporters have asked the administration about this case, the administration has acknowledged that they messed up. What they call it is a clerical error. Okay, whatever. For the moment, we'll let that go. The point is, they have further said there's nothing they can do about it. Okay, wait, what? What do you mean there's nothing you can do about it? Like, we made a mistake, put a guy in a foreign jail that we shouldn't have. Oops, sucks for him. What? That is not the right response, as the judge concurred, Judge Sinis. So the administration has till tomorrow night to return him, not just locate him, not just book a plane flight, but to have him back stateside by Sunday night. So I guess the thing to look at is, will that happen? That's the first question. And then we'll go from there. So let's look at that first. Let's see. The judge made an order. So we'll use the letter, and the letter will be the order. Will that order be obeyed by Sunday night? Okay, so we're looking for the letter. Oops. Second card out, which means there's only one card before it, which means it is not going to be the center card. Okay, so let's see what we have. Well, I mean, looks pretty good to me. We have the scales, and this is the scales of justice in the form of, the order from Judge Xinis saying return Abrego Garcia by Sunday night to the United States. In the center, we have the child, then we have the lily, and we have the heart. I'm pretty sure that this is someone whose wife is pregnant. I think so. I think she's pregnant. But I'm going to pull some clarifiers before I talk more about what these mean. Hold on. So we don't need to pull cards on these two. These are the scales of justice. This is Judge Sinis's order, but I will pull cards on the child and on the lily and on the heart. Well, good news and less good news. So the scales. These are the scales of justice. This is Judge Sinis's order. Now, the child, I mean, this has injected something new into the situation. The child card can certainly stand for something new, but it also stands for something small. And remember, I mentioned that Garcia's wife is pregnant, I think. She would love to have him home and have this thing peacefully resolved. That's the lily and the heart. But it's always good to draw clarifiers because, of course, we would love to have this story have a happy ending. But is that really what the cards are trying to tell us? So I pulled cards on child, and we have stork, crossroads, and tree. Now, child and stork together can indicate pregnancy. I think she is pregnant. But beyond that, this new order by the judge looks like his situation will improve because the stork is about positive change. Now, crossroads. This is the card for choices. And the Trump administration is now faced with a choice. Remember, what they did was they gave the president of El Salvador something like $6 million to take in these people that they deport. Uh, are they going to have to pay more to find this guy and get him out? I don't know. Are they going to have to go through some back channel to get the guy out? I don't know. But I feel like whatever they do, they're going to argue that, I mean, this is really hard, Judge. We don't know if we can do it. And it may take longer to return him than Sunday night. But nobody wants to hear that story because that's not what the judge said. The judge didn't say, if you can do it, I'd love for you to try to get him back by Sunday night. No, the judge said, get him back here by Sunday night. But the tree is such a slow card. It's a card of slowness. Mm. So let's see what else we get. The lily. Now remember, we had the last two cards were the lily and the heart, really nice cards, sort of a happily ever after resolution to the situation. But look at the clarifiers for the lily. The snake, the anchor, and the tower. One of the meanings for tower that I don't think you've seen me talk about before is prison. So, here she is thinking, oh, this is great. Here all of us are thinking, this is great. The judge will issue this order and poof, he'll be back. But it's not as simple as it looks. I mean, I will grant them that, the administration. They should not have done what they did because these people have been swallowed up into the great maw of this prison. Which is probably like Dante's Inferno. It's probably hellacious. So it's going to be problematic. And I think that by Sunday night, he will still be in jail in El Salvador, stuck in jail in El Salvador. if we've given 6 million to put them in there, what's to say that the El Salvadoran president doesn't say, well, I need another 6 million in order to kind of figure out where that guy is and get him out. I just feel like there's a problem and he will be stuck there. He won't be back by Sunday night. We have the heart and we have the whip, the moon, and the scythe. Don't love this. He has family. He is loved and cared about. And all of us care about what happens to all of these men. There is going to be a lot of bickering and arguing back and forth about this. A lot of people wanting to claim his identity, because I mean everybody wants to get out, right? And I think his identity, they'll have a hard time finding him. I don't love this scythe, but I'm going to say that I can mirror the scythe because it's a cutting instrument, right? I can mirror it with the scales of justice. This will constitute one of many, many, many what are calling constitutional crises. This will be a constitutional crisis. You took the guy for no reason and put him on a plane to a foreign jail. Then you realized he was not who you thought he was. He did not have any kind of association with any gangs or anything like that. And you said, oops, sorry. So you acknowledged that. Then you were ordered by the judge to bring him back because they've known that they screwed up for a couple of weeks now. You were ordered to bring him back and by Sunday night, and justice will be flouted, cut. I think it's going to be part of the constitutional crisis that Trump is facing from every direction. So, and then what happens, right? Then what happens? What does the judge do? What is his remedy for this? The man is still in jail. Does the judge fine people? Okay, but fine the government? Okay, fine. Fine the government. But meanwhile, the guy's still in jail. Do justice officials get jailed? And if they do, which ones? And bottom line, if you jail those officials, the guy's still in jail. So the question that I asked was, would he be back by Sunday night? The answer I'm getting is he won't be. No, for a lot of reasons. They should have been looking for him a long time ago. They were not looking for him, even though they knew they made a mistake. And they've been given, what, 72 hours to bring him back? So I guess the next question is, what will be the consequence if the judge's order is not obeyed for whatever reason? Doesn't matter the reason. They say ignorance is no excuse under the law. Right. Well, this is also no excuse under the law. We can't find him. What do you mean you can't find him? So what will happen when, I'm going to say when, he is not returned by Sunday night? Now, energy is mutable. I hope to God he is returned, but in terms of what I'm looking at right now, in this moment, I don't see him being returned by Sunday night. What will be the consequence? Because what's Judge Xinis going to do? Say, okay, I tried my best. No, he can't do that. So what is the consequence? You know what I'm going to use for consequence? I'm going to use the whip. And the whip, while sometimes it's a great card, it's the card for the athlete, it's the card for the writer. Um, it can be the card for discipline. But so here it is the card for discipline. In other words, what will be the consequence, the punishment for Garcia not being returned in a timely manner? So let's use the whip as the focus card and see what Judge Xinis will do. Okay. Remember, we're looking for the width. Okay, this will be the consequence that Judge Xinis will impose. It's such a merry-go-round experience, this, because, you know, anyway, we have the bear, the ring, the whip, the dog, and the crossroads. Uh, I think that let me pull up. I'm going to pull maybe one clarifier for each of these cards. This is really going to be a constitutional crisis. Again, there are many. There are many. This is one of many. So the bear. I feel like the bear is both the administration and El Salvador. Because look what the clarifier is: money. You gave us this guy, El Salvador will say. You didn't say we had to, I don't know, tag them the way you tag cattle or chip dogs or something. So he just, like I said, he's in the great maw of this hellish prison. And, um, what can I do? Will say the president of El Salvador. But for a price, maybe there's something I could do. This is going to be a lot of hard work to find this guy. Cross my palm with silver and I'll see what I can do. No guarantees. That's what I think this is about. The ring. Now, the ring is the card for like a contract, and a contract was what was made with 47's Justice Department. The contract said for $6 million, El Salvador, you'll take these prisoners and you'll take these immigrants and you'll put them in the prison. That was the deal that was made. There was no codicil to the deal, meaning like there was no, and if we find that some of them don't belong there, you'll let them free. Or if blah, 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 then blah, blah, blah. Or, they all have to be made safe, and they all have to have adequate food and water, and they all have to have a surface to sleep on that's not the floor. I don't think that that was part of this contract with 47. So the government's going to say, what are we supposed to do? It's another screw up. But meanwhile, it's a guy's life. Okay. There will be lots and lots of arguing about this, and there will be a consequence that will be severe. I don't know what that is. I'm glad I'm not the judge in this case, but I mean, I think heads will roll. I think people will be fired. People may face jail themselves. But the bottom line is this is none of those things are a remedy because the guy's still in jail. Um, Now, I like the dog. The dog is generally a really good card. It's the card for people who help. And there may be people who can help expedite the guy's discovery and return. They will look for that um, because Sunday night is the deadline. So the lawyers will try to expedite his return by any means necessary. I mean, they're trying that way, that way, that way. They're going to try all different ways to get him back, but they're really scared of what the judge will do. This is the judge also. And this is my also, remember, again, this is also the president of El Salvador. And the Justice Department is worried about what his next pound of flesh will be. What will he want to exact from the Justice Department in order to find this guy? Assuming he's findable, by the way. I mean, don't be surprised if somebody ups and says, oh, you know what? He had an asthma attack and he's dead. Or, oh, you know what? Mistakenly, he was put in a cell with a bunch of cannibals and they ate him and there's no evidence. This is not over by virtue of Judge Xinis saying have Garcia back by Sunday. I don't think it's bad. It's over. And I think this will create real trouble for the administration. And these kinds of situations, as well as others, are just piling up. Uh, which is why I say I don't see this administration being 4 years in length. I don't think so. All right. So that's that. We'll see. And maybe I'll be wrong. I'm hope that I'm wrong. Let's all put our energy towards me being wrong. And Abran Garcia, Abrego Garcia being returned home to the United States. Let's all put our energy towards that. I don't mind being wrong in a case like this, believe me. Okay. So there's that. Also, the stock market has just plunged. To many of us, that is no surprise. I mean, what do you expect with this tariff news? Uh, I think that, all of these bad things that are happening are bad, but they also move us towards the end of this administration. So every bad thing, it's bad, and we can mourn over it and we can rail against it, and there can be wailing and gnashing of teeth around these things. But the silver lining is the greater the pain, the faster the remedy. The remedy being that this administration meets its end by its own hand. So I think I'll just leave that there. So I read on the stock market yesterday. The big reason that I wanted to come here was that I wanted to look at how the National Day of Protest is going to go tomorrow. There are protests scheduled all over the country, which is why it's national. Uh, this is not like a storming of the Capitol. This is all kinds of local places having these protests. Uh, Black people stay home, just saying. I'm going to put a couple of links for resources that I found on Substack if you are planning to attend. Then I hope those will be helpful to you. And I guess, the question is, how's it going to go? So let's first look at that. And then if it looks like it's not going to go, if it looks like it's going to go sideways, um, and I mean, it's all over the country, so the potential for that is great. People are starting to get really upset as they see the consequences of these actions. Um, what will 47's response be? If he can take time off from golfing in Florida, which is what he's doing today, pretty sure it's a school day. You know what I'm saying? It's Friday, it's not Saturday. But anyway, he's playing golf because, I guess ruining the economy is tiring work. So I'm going to use the garden because the garden stands for, sort of these, it can be the card for a mass gathering of people. Um, and there will be multiple mass mass gatherings of people. How will tomorrow go? Okay, so we're looking for the garden. Okay, so this card will stand for tomorrow's National Day of Protest. I may pull clarifiers, but I can't wait because I want to speak to these five cards before I pull clarifiers. We have the coffin, we have 47. The garden is in the middle, it stands for the day of protest. We have the young man card, and we have the cross. First thing that I want to do is mention what flanks the reading is two not good cards, the coffin and the cross. These protests, as my mother would say, God willing and the creek don't rise, these protests will mark the beginning of the end. I know I keep saying we're at the end of the beginning. Ideally, and these cards would indicate that this day of protest tomorrow will mark the beginning of the end of this national hellscape nightmare. 47, yeah, who is the second card, can be mirrored by this card. This to me is the yang energy of the people. It's got nothing to do with men or women. It's energy. And he will be faced with this energetic, overwhelming expression of dislike, dissatisfaction, and anger. And that's going to be the beginning of his end. So that's good. Um, I didn't take it to mean something like, oh, there's going to be death and destruction tomorrow. And it only occurred to me in a secondary way that somebody could have chosen to read it that way. I always tell you that a big part of reading for me as a master of this art is that I use my intuition. And so when I used my intuition, I saw these cards as portents for him as opposed to portents of, you know, mass death and destruction of the people tomorrow. That's not going to happen. This is the beginning of his end. But I'm going to pull some clarifiers and just see what we get. We'll pull I'll do what I usually do. I'll pull three for each card. And then I'll pull my three extra cards. Okay. So, and this is the last thing I'm going to be looking at. So remember that our line of five, coffin, 47, the event, the day tomorrow, the young man, which is energy. I think it's that yang energy of the people, and the cross, and the fact that the coffin and the cross flank the reading. This does not bode well for him. Not for us, for him. Okay, so here's our coffin. The clarifiers are the anchor, the woman, and the book. Okay. So, uh, coffins are endings. Coffins are also about transformation. I think tomorrow will be a transformational day. I think that the message that it sends is the message that is sent tomorrow will be sustained. This event will not feel like one and done. It will echo and reverberate moving forward as we move into things like the midterms. But even as we move into things like the coming week, this energy will be sustained. I think women will be a big part of this in a way that no one can um, imagine. This is about things we don't know. Okay. So here, second card is 47, the moon. This is the card for reputation. So his reputation hits a roadblock. And that will that's not good for him as he sits in the Oval Office. The world hates him, and now he's about to find out that his own people do too. It's that expression. I love that for him. Okay, here we are. This is the event. And, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say confusion, but I would say people don't know how's it going to go. It's going to go really, really well. It's the historic positive change. People have not known what to do, right, since November. God knows since January 20th. But now people are starting to get it. We saw what Cory Booker did. We see what Jasmine Crockett's about. We see Bernie Sanders out there with AOC. We see Swalwell. I mean, there are, people like Schumer are being left in the dust because of cowardice. So this confusion is starting to morph into clarity. And the people are realizing that they are America, not that thing in the White House, in Mar-a-Lago. That the people hold the power in this government. We get to decide what kind of country we want to be. So here is that yang energy, the energy of everybody participating, of everybody like me who will be sitting home, glued to the TV and drinking my water and um, fasting and praying for the safety and welfare and the, you know, powerful messaging of people tomorrow. So this is that energy, energy of the crowd and all who support the crowd. Uh, I think this will be, I don't see anything bad. I think this is good, Clover. Um, I think there will be a renewed spirit of optimism in the country as a result of this. Uh, I think people will rediscover that we have more in common than what divides us. And I think people will be galvanized to organize because this is the card for discipline and also being galvanized. So I think it's going to be really, I like the fact that these two cards mirror, that people power energy will be galvanized. And then we have the cross, and the clarifiers are the star, the lily, and the child. I know people are scared. I know that tomorrow, maybe the adrenaline will make people feel like, whoa, here we go. This is great. But it's difficult. It's difficult to do what needs to be done tomorrow. But the sacrifices will be made for the future and for our children to live in a country that is, I'm going to call it reconciled to itself, because we are not. But I think this will go a long way towards us reconciling ourselves to each other. And I can mirror this card with this card. No, it does not mean the end of peace. I think it means transformation as we decide to be woke as opposed to asleep and to reconcile ourselves to each other. And that doesn't mean disappearing the past or disappearing people who don't look the way we think they should look. No, I am really, really excited about what tomorrow, the message that tomorrow could be as the takeaway for all of us. Um, and then I pulled three cards as a postscript. Is there anything else that I can say? And so the cards are the mice, the scale, and the heart. So I want to tell you a story about the mice. So this card traditionally in Lenormand means worry, fear, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. But when I first began reading, or actually not when I first began reading, after I'd read for a while, I would hit situations where I would say, that definition doesn't fit for this card. And I would look at the other cards and use my intuition and my intelligence. And I came up with another meaning for this card. And I would say it's maybe 1 out of 10 times that this meaning will be accurate for this card. The other 9 times out of 10, this card is worry, anxiety, illness, fear, stress. But 1 time out of 10, that's not what it means. So, what's the story behind this? Well, what came to me at the time when I would say, well, that doesn't fit, is child of the 60s as I am, I flashed back to Disney's um, Cinderella. And if you are of an age, or I don't know if you have kids, because I had kids and I showed this movie, you will remember Walt Disney's Cinderella. And in Walt Disney's Cinderella, she had these two evil stepsisters and an evil stepmother, and she had no friends except for the little mice who lived in the castle that she was living in, where she was like the scullery maid in the kitchen, doing all the housework and being like the slave for these stepsisters and stepmother. And these mice, when we first meet them, are very ill-tempered. They're stressed out. They're anxious. They're arguing with each other. Or they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off, or like mice when, you're in a kitchen and the light goes on and everybody scatters, right? That's how they are in the beginning. And people tomorrow may feel like this, nervous, anxious, worried, scared. But what happened in the movie is that, and then, it's a cartoon, is that there's a fairy godmother. So this is the other friend that Cinderella has. And the fairy godmother arranges for Cinderella to go to the ball that she has not been invited to, but the ugly stepsisters are going. And she charges the mice with helping her, the fairy godmother does, helping her create a situation for Cinderella that will be an amazing ball experience. So the mice set about doing things like um, creating, sewing her dress so that she has a ball gown to wear, being the footman and um, the driver for her chariot, which will have been made out of a pumpkin that is then, turned into a carriage by the fairy godmother. And these mice go from being frenetic and hysterical and bad-tempered, the normal meaning, to being focused and intentional. And they continue to run around like crazy and be super, super, super busy, but they have a purpose. And this is what will happen tomorrow. People who have felt all kinds of ways stressed since November will have found their purpose. And out of their purpose, which is seeking justice, what we have now is not justice. So, in the search for the seeking out the demand for justice, this will be what emerges. The heart is about love. So I don't think that, well, I don't think any National Guard will be called out. I suspect if the Guard were called out, they'd be like, no. And why won't he call out the National Guard? Let me tell you the real reason. Because, I mean, he'd do it in a heartbeat if who was out there on the front line were black and brown bodies. And that's why black and brown people, by and large, will stay home tomorrow. He's not going to want the visual, the optics of calling the National Guard on white people. He's not going to want the optics of a Kent State. And if you don't know what Kent State is, and if you are my age, you do know what Kent State is. But if you don't know what Kent State is, just Google Kent State. He won't want that on top of all the other bad press he's getting. No. But I am telling you, tomorrow will mark the beginning of his end and of our nightmare. But there's a long haul between the beginning of the end and the actual end. So don't come in my comments asking me, when will this be over? It'll be over when it's over. And you'll know. When it being over is on the horizon, you will not need me or any other card reader to tell you that. You'll smell it. You'll feel it in the wind. But tomorrow will be the beginning of the end. All right, you all. I am rooting for you. Like I said, I will be on the sidelines in fasting and prayer, and I will watch the news. And this is a good and righteous cause. If you're Black, stay home. Okay, I'll see you all soon. Take care.